So you've been told your posture is the reason for your pain, but what if I told you posture doesn't matter? At least, not the way you think it does. My name is Dr. Clayton Durr, and welcome back to the podcast, Heal Without Harm. I'm a physical therapist, and I'm also the one bringing you the truth about the medical system. And honestly, I want you to go ahead and let go of all that guilt and shame that you feel about having bad posture. And if you know someone who carries that around with them, please send this on to them. Because today we're going to get into what matters about posture and what really doesn't. See, the cultural belief is that if you sit slouched, you're doomed. You're going to have back pain, shoulder pain. You're going to get this horrible crook in your neck. You're going to get rounded shoulders. And you're going to look like the humpback of Notre Dame. Not necessarily the case. See, in the flip, we also think is true. The flip side, that if you stand tall, sit tall, you're going to have perfect health and all your problems are going to go away. Did you know they've actually done research over this? They've actually found that individuals who sit with more of an upright posture consistently actually have a higher incidence of neck pain. See, the way you sit doesn't matter as much as how long you sit there. And this is very, very, very extreme. You can sit in some pretty bad postures, and as long as you don't stay there very long, you're not going to have much of any issues. Let me give you an example. I want you to imagine, let's say a PVC pipe, right? A plastic pipe. And it is draped across an opening, kind of like a bridge between two boulders or two walls, whatever it may be. And I want you to imagine grabbing the middle of that and you pull down on it really hard so it bends into a sort of U shape. And then you let off, and then you do it again, and you let off, and you do it again. As long as you don't bend it to it where it breaks, it's always going to go back to the original shape because the stressors are never there for very long and you're constantly letting off. Now, compare that to if you were to hang a 50-pound weight from the center of that. It may bend a little bit right when you initially put that weight on there. But if you leave it there for days, weeks, months, it's going to start having a permanent bend in this PVC pipe. Now, I know, sometimes analogies are pretty poor. Sometimes they don't really carry over. In this one, no, we're not a PVC pipe. But it spells out the visual of your body can handle a lot of, we'll say, imperfect postures as long as you're not staying there very long and as long as you're moving often. We call it microdosing. See, when you imagine yourself like a PVC pipe and you sit there at the computer desk or on your phone or in the car or whatever it is, and you sit there for 10 minutes, then 30 minutes go by, 60 minutes go by, 2 hours go by, 5 hours go by, that's when we start running into problems. That's where you're going to start having issues. That's where you're going to start having stiffness afterwards, pain afterwards. You're going to start having some joint issues afterwards. See, our body is really good at knowing when it's been in one position too long. Where this gets hijacked is when you're sitting at work, you're sitting playing a game, you're sitting reading a book, you're driving, whatever it is, your brain is so distracted by the task at hand that the normal signals that come from muscles or joints that are in a comfortable position, but for an uncomfortable amount of time, those signals no longer get all the way up to your brain. The signal is being sent, but your brain doesn't hear it. Your brain doesn't tell you, hey, we need to move a little bit. This is starting to get painful in the shoulder or in the neck or in the upper back and the hips, whatever the body part. You're not getting those normal signals. You're not getting them because you're so focused on what you're doing. It may be a flow state. You may be getting good work done. You may just be scrolling. Whatever it is, you're in that position too long and your brain is hijacked to the point that you're not getting told to move. And unfortunately, if you're going to keep working this job or doing this habit, you're going to have to find a way to move more often. See, movement and microdosing movement throughout your day is going to be much more beneficial than any certain posture that you sit in. Movement is way better than any sort of perfect alignment when sitting. We crave movement. We crave variety. We don't care if you slouch as long as you just switch to another position. See, we all think about, oh, my posture is bad. It's not the posture. It's being in a fixed position. Just move every so often. Let me break it down for you. Again, this analogy is not perfect, but it spells out how much our body likes a little bit of movement or a little bit of anything over and over and over again, as opposed to one big batch of something. They did a study, and I believe this was mostly on blood sugar control. But there was one on blood sugar control, and there's also one on calorie burn for a day. And they found that a little bit of movement throughout the entire day not only gives you much better blood sugar control, but it gives you much more calorie burn. What they did on the one study, I know how they did it, was they had an office worker take the elevator going up to his office, and then they had him pretty much sit as much as possible that whole day while he took phone calls and worked on the computer, et cetera, et cetera. They measured how many calories, an estimate of how many calories he burned that day when he sat pretty much the whole day and then went and worked out after work for an entire hour. They took that number of calories. Then 2 weeks later, they had him do the same thing, go to work, but instead of taking the elevator, he took the stairs. Every phone call, he took on a headset and he walked around the office while he was on the phone. And then that time he did not work out. So day number 1, sat most of the day, tried to be as lazy as possible, but then worked out. Day number 2, 2 weeks later, took every phone call on a walk, took the stairs as opposed to the elevator, and tried to move often throughout the entire day. And they found that time he burned more calories than when being lazy most of the day and working out for an hour. Now, I tell you this not to say you don't get to work out. I tell you this to let you know that movement throughout the entire day is more important than a workout. But if you can do both, it might as well be a superpower. The other one, I don't remember how they did the study, but they found that if you walk a minimum of 100 steps per hour for at least 8 or at least 10 hours in a day, you have better blood sugar control than just working out once a day. So the more that you can move periodically throughout the day, the better. Habits and ways that I've recommended clients, real life clients, on how to do this is simply, one, if you have a smartwatch, generally 50 minutes after every hour, you will get an alert that says you should get up and stand. You should get up and walk. You have 100 steps left this hour. It tells you that based off this research that I'm telling you right now. Your watch is already trying to get you to move every hour. It's measuring how many steps you are and are not taking. Listen to it. If that doesn't work for you, you can set an alarm every 10 minutes before every hour, reminding you to get up to move. Another one that I used to do when I worked an office job is, instead of having a fancy water bottle, I just had a styrofoam cup of water. I know what you're saying, a styrofoam cup. Oh my gosh, I was probably drinking cancer. No. Here's the thing, is every time I finished that cup of water, I had to get up and go fill it up. And most of the time I also had to pee because it was a 16-ounce thing of water. But the point being is I had something that always alerted me that, oh, you need to get up and walk. You need to get up and walk. You need to get up and walk. And that was just simply built into me. These are all ways that I personally have built it into my daily habits when I was working a job that was much more sitting, or ways that I've worked with patients on it. Now, the last little story on movement is we generally don't rise to what we want to be able to do. We fall to the systems that we've created. Somebody smarter than me had a quote like that, but it sounded way better. If you are working from home, one of the best ways that you can get movement in is buying a walking pad and just simply putting it under your desk when you're not using it and rolling it out when you are working, and just walking while you're taking phone calls, walking while you're doing much more easy tasks, right? So that you can keep getting your steps in throughout the day. Because my wife just got a work from home job, and it's rough for her to get 2,000 steps in a day, at least before dinner time. We have to make sure we go on walks. As opposed to me, when I get home from working as a physical therapist and just being up and moving throughout the day, I will come home with 6, 7, 8,000 steps every single day. And neither of us really think about it. Meaning, I don't have to think about it, but I get a lot of steps in. She doesn't think much of it, and she only gets 2,000 steps and then has to make up for it at the end of the day. Okay, so micro movements throughout the day, every 30, 60 minutes are super, super helpful. If you have a joint or an area of the body that's more concerning, move that body part every hour. You can do shoulder rolls. You can get up and walk. You can do some squats, do some lunges, have a PVC pipe or a Swiffer, like broomstick or Swiffer handle in the office. You can have a band in the office and move. It's almost like movement snacks as opposed to like movement meals, right? Just move a little bit throughout the day. See, you don't need to chase perfect posture, just chase movement. Posture isn't a prison. You don't need to sit perfectly every single time. If anything, it's sit however you want, but just don't be there for more than 2, 5, or 10 minutes. Be fidgety. You have permission to be fidgety. It's going to be helpful. So, just to wrap this up, move often. Don't worry too much about posture. And dude, send this thing to that friend that slouches like crazy. Say, hey, you have permission to slouch, but you don't have permission to slouch for very long. If you have a gamer in your life, you have a friend who works in an office job or work from home job in your life, send this to them to potentially save their pain life. It'll get them out of pain ultimately. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Please go to the link in my bio and join my community on School. The community is called Heal Without Harm, and School is spelled SKOOL. That is where I'm putting pretty much everything in regards of helping the people around me. And also I have found that the best way to get better is to get better with others and learn from people who have been in your position. They are just one step ahead of you. They can teach you most of the time more than I can teach you and better than I can teach you. Thank you so much. I hope this episode helped you learn how to heal without harm. And if you haven't already, please subscribe on the platform that you are listening to this on. Thank you guys.